Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to our Lumio Palooza Global event, where we are providing fun, fresh PD opportunities, highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We will show you how to create lessons and activities focused on a variety of topics, including classroom instructional strategies. My name is Michelle Conway-Gray, and I'm a professional development specialist with Lumio from New Jersey here in the States. This webinar, Lumio and Dual Language, Twice the Fun, features Cristina Barnett, a fourth grade teacher, and Sarah Arreguin, instructional technology coach and former fifth grade teacher from White Settlement ISD in Texas, here in the States. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box during the presentation, and we will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during our Q&A period. We will be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. Today's session is being recorded, so keep that in mind, and you will receive the recording via email early next week, along with all the other resources from today's session. We would love for you to share what you learned from this session on social media, along with this graphic if you want. Tag @Lumio Social and hashtag the Lumio Challenge and hashtag Lumio Palooza to be entered to win a gift card. I'm going to drop that in the chat so everyone has that. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Cristina and Sarah, our experts, so that we can dive into today's webinar, Lumio and Dual Language, Twice the Fun.
So before we begin, if you wanted to actually join this Lumio, you could. You could go to hellosmart.com. I'm going to actually put this in our chat too. Or if you just want to follow along, that is okay as well. So Cristina, you can take it from here.
Okay, so this is our agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about what is dual language and what are the lesson components for dual language and how we build a lesson that will support all the requirements. Finally, we're going to share some examples and links with all the resources that I normally use and that Sarah created that have been super successful in our classrooms. So on the next, we're going to do one of my favorite tools from Lumio, which is a whole class whiteboard. And I want you to share what are your thoughts of what do you think it is, or what is your interpretation of dual language instruction. So if you can put your thoughts and share, we will see what our audience know about dual language. There is no right or wrong answer. That's what I like, the whiteboard. Everybody can put something, and the kids love that they can put pictures. If they cannot write sentences, they can, now they have the emojis, so they can like the prompt or the answer of the word problem. I teach math, science, and social studies, so I can put a prompt for vocabulary or maybe a short computation problem, and they agree or disagree, and they put their thoughts right there. So teaching more than one language. Yes, that's one of the goals, is develop bilingualism. Correct. That's a very good definition. Somebody else? And that's what the kids love to do. Put the stickers and comment on each other, or give them a thumbs up if they like. Teaching students more than one language. Yes. Yes. Literacy and content in 2 languages. Yes, there are kids that are learning a second language that is not necessarily the same. Uh-huh. I like that. That we have a very diverse group of students. That's one of my favorite things about dual language. Confidence in another language, I can see that at the bottom. Yes. So I think we have a pretty good grasp of what this is. And when the kids see everybody's answers on the screen and they see their own, even if they don't know exactly what it is, they can listen to each other and collaborate in the whiteboard. And I love that. And this is so easy to do, so easy to incorporate in any lesson. So now moving on. Yes, dual language is a very highly effective program for teaching biliteracy in sociocultural competence. So yes, the kids are learning language, two languages. They are learning content like any other class, and they also learn how to be members of a bilingual community and be a very important part of that. So they learn also how to celebrate, how to use their vocabulary skills in effective ways. And I love Lumio have all these seasonal packages all the time, so we easily can integrate and get all these pre-made resources to address content and sociocultural competence. Normally, our kids are learning in these four domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and they have to develop in these four areas both languages. So the differentiation, which is the third part of it, it just doubles everything. Instead of just the low, medium, high, now we have low, medium, high in each one of the languages. So we need to address everybody's needs in all our lessons. So that's the life of a dual language teacher, but we have to have all the inclusive elements that Lumio now is updating constantly and facilitating not just the holidays, but inclusive ideas for lessons. So this is a nutshell. So what are the needs? In the next slide, we have the needs for dual language. It has to be highly focused. There has to be content we need to teach, what is required in our curriculums, but also we need to teach language. So everything has to target listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We can create a lesson for math, two-digit multiplication, but also we need to make the kids able to share the results in both languages or explain how they get there in both languages. And of course, the differentiation, which are already told, special ed, dyslexia, different learning disabilities, it just adds up to the mix of dual language. But it gets very exciting when the kids are learning and sharing when it's not in their first language and they learn how to collaborate together. So here is just an overview of how we prepare our lessons. We have an engagement part with the hook on activity, kind of like what we did on the interactive whiteboard. Then it's instruction that it could be new vocabulary or model skill that they need to learn. Then we have guided practice. Then we have two activities that could be in the same day or in a different day, or it could be just no teacher-led activity in Lumio. It could be student-led that the kids will access in their virtual classroom, or they can have in their apps on the computer that they can access and do independently. Normally, the first activity is a partner or a group activity, either collaborating in Lumio or just doing, and they get up with their laptops and they go and share with a partner or with a group. Finally, we have the assessment, and I like to include the writing piece. I teach math basically, but I try to incorporate writing in everything. In the state of Texas, we're required to evaluate our students who are learning English in the system that is standardized, and they need to show a year of growth in all these areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Normally, the writing is the hardest one to achieve, and they have to move from beginner in the first year to intermediate, then advanced, and finally advanced high. So all these requirements I normally try to address in the assessment piece when they write their reflections, and I provide vocabulary and stems that they can use to modify. So here are some of the activities, and I think Sarah is going to show you in how we created them.
Yes. So we're going to now actually look at some real activities that either Miss Barnett or I myself have created that were in Lumio that she used in her classroom, or I used with other teachers at various grade levels in each of these engage, instruction, guided practice activities, or assessments. And if you wanted to, you could have every aspect of this done in Lumio, but sometimes teachers don't want to do everything all online. They just want to have just the opening or just a work period or just a closing. And that's totally up to you and how comfortable you are and how you feel your students need to be working with various activities face-to-face or online. So we're going to be showing you some real examples in the next few slides for each of these. So the first one, starting the lessons. These are a few screenshots that we have on what you can do for, you can have a real video that is easy to add. You can have an individual handout with a graphic organizer, and most of these are going to be found in the Lumio library. This is something that you can edit and put in your own text here. You don't have to create all of this yourself. There's game-based activities. This one is memory match, and KWL charts. And that's what I'm going to show you next, where hopefully you will act as a student would, your attendees here. But here we can see an individual handout. So I'm going to go to the teacher handout to show you what it looks like if I were the teacher modeling to the class how to complete this KWL chart. I could read everything myself, read it out loud to the class. This is Earth's renewable and non-renewable resources. I also have this option here where I can personalize and put a little bit more information where I can record my voice. So if you wanted to give a little bit more information, or if you just wanted to read it yourself to have it more personalized, you have that option. Now, another feature you can use is the immersive reader feature. And somebody asked, can we have items translated? Well, you cannot have everything translated if it were just an image on the background. But if I wanted to have these translated into another language, if it's text typed on top here, these were texts that I added. I could click this little book logo. It's the immersive reader option. And all of these can be read aloud, or they could actually be translated. So let's actually look at what one of these would look like an immersive reader. So if I click this, it's going to a new screen for immersive reader. So this is English, Earth's renewable and non-renewable resources. I can, of course, have this read, but if I want it to be translated to Spanish or any other language that's here, which is a lot, I don't know how many are here, but there's so many. I'll go to Spanish, which is what Miss Barnett teaches in Spanish, Mexico. And it can go word by word or for the whole document. So now it is translated to the language. And if, let's say my native language is English and I'm trying to learn Spanish, This will also read it not just as someone that's trying to learn it, but as if this were a native speaker speaking it. So I'll play it, you can hear it. So that is not only the actual words, it's actually the correct enunciations in how to speak it. So that's a wonderful tool in Immersive Reader. There's a few other options you can change here as well to give more details about it, but we just wanted to show you like the language features of it. So this is an option you do have if you type text on here and you want it to be translated in Immersive Reader. So hopefully you as students are able to actually get on this activity to show what you know, show what you want to know, show what you've learned. So we can see these are students in the class right now. And I can click on any of these students to see what they've added. So far, we haven't added anything yet, but I can click around and see, maybe Merritt has. Not yet, but if I wanted to, I can ask students, do you have any more questions? I see you haven't added anything yet. We can get some student feedback. Let's see. No, not yet. Is anybody going to be able to add anything on here? Let's see, Erin's. Oh, I see Erin added, she knows it's sunshine. So if I wanted to give her some feedback, of course, I can type it in, or if I just wanted to give her a sticker to say, yes, that's right. That is something that is one of Earth's renewable resources or non-renewable resources. And then these are individualized. So each and every student has their own copy on this individual handout. Each student has their own. So this is one way we could use the KWL chart. Now, another way to use a KWL chart, I'm going to the next one, yes, but I will leave it in student pace if you wanted to go back, okay? Some students might be like, oh no. Let me go on. I lost my spot, sorry. So this is another option for a KWL chart. I thought this was cool. It's not your traditional, what do you know? What do you want to know? What are you learning? Where everything is there at once. This is a shouted out in 3 different categories. So let's say we are reading a text about renewable or non-renewable resources. And students may not know much, or maybe they have an idea of what it is and they can put their answers here. Or what I'm learning. And what am I understanding now? I might ask students to compare what they have on their individual handout. What did you put here? You might have 3 or 4 items on this individual handout on what you know and what you want to learn and what you've learned. But now on this shouted out, add your top item. And we're going to see not only your top item of what you know, what you're learning, and what you're understanding, we're going to see everybody's. So we can compare what everybody put on their individual handout. And then we can start moving things around and categorizing. It's just a different way to use the KWL option, KWL way of thinking on what we know, what we're learning, and what we're understanding to make it more individualized and then more of a group or a whole class dynamic in comparing our thoughts. Because yes, we can individually learn something, but we often learn from others to see, well, so-and-so said that they were learning this too. Oh, that's interesting. Or they learned a different topic and it sparks new ideas and more questions when students are able to share what they're learning or what they still have questions on.
And Sarah, there was a comment in the chat about what do we do when we need to translate everything? I used to translate everything. It took me hours to do the same resource. And then I started using what I have already made. And dual language resources, I mean, especially the adoption, and the textbooks come already translated. So all I need to do sometimes is just take a snippet of their teacher edition online and just put it together and create the game or the handout or just and there are some examples here that are straight from the textbook. So I don't translate everything. I just try to match what I have in English and in Spanish already made and just put it together to create the resource that I want and how I want the kids to share their ideas together. So translating is just not, it's not worth the time. Just use what you have um, and put them in Lumio. Lumio will add the engagement part with all this sharing, with the shout outs, with the whiteboards and the games.
In our school, we have a dual language program, which means it's 1 week in English and another week in Spanish, then English, then Spanish. There are some schools that are total immersion schools where everything is in that other language all the time, like 95% of the time. But in dual language, you go from one to another. And I really think that benefits the students that English is their first language, but it also benefits the students that Spanish is their first language. So there may be some things that students struggle with, but then, they can go back to, okay, I feel more confident in this. And just little by little, they're gaining their confidence in those different languages when you're going back and forth. And like Ms. Barnett said, we don't translate every single thing. It's just the items that we have. And then there's items we don't have that are translated. So that's what dual language is in our district. All right, we're going to go on. So the next part is for instruction. And some ways that you can use Lumio in instruction is, of course, in individual handouts. This can be something that you make yourself, or you can find some things from the Lumio library and then just edit them. I think this one on digital manipulatives, Miss Barnett made, and then you can use the infinite cloner and you can use some editing tools. And it's very, very simple to make. This is something Miss Barnett took from one of her textbooks, and it can be something that students use as a resource, as a guide. You don't have to have everything made into a group workspace or individual handout. It can be just something that students look at. Now, if you want students to interact with something on there or write, you could, or you could just leave it for something for them to view. This next one, I made it a handout. I'm going to show you from the teacher handout view. So this is a perfect example, like Miss Barnett was sharing, that some things are what she already has. This is an anchor chart she has in her classroom that she made. It's on a giant poster. And you can see she has some things in English and some things in Spanish to show standard form, expanded notation, and then the modeling of it. And on here, she typed simple boxes that show some vocabulary terminology in English and Spanish, and asking students to write on this individual handout. And this can be, Miss Barnett is working at the front of the classroom on this poster or maybe on the smartboard. And then she's asking students, this is where you're going to practice putting in your answers. And let's say a student is absent from class and they're working on this at home, and they might think, oh, I remember that poster Miss Barnett talked about yesterday, and I need to finish this. Well, here's an example on where she can use a face-to-face object that she just took a picture of and included it in Lumio. And then it's not something she had to go up and create an extra fancy tool. It's a combination, a blend of the best practices she has in her face-to-face teaching and the best practices she's picking up in using from digital things such as Lumio. So a few activities that Ms. Barnett has used, and I think a couple of these she's got from the Lumio library, such as this one about manipulatives with fractions. So she didn't make this. She got this from the library and then put on there specific fractions she wanted her students to use. And then this is just a screenshot, but when you actually use this, you can move these fraction pieces around, and it's very interactive, and it helps students to see different fraction amounts and comparing them. And this could be used as a group workspace. This handout she got from the Lumio library. There's a lot of graphic organizers that are ready to use the way they are, and she went in and just edited a few things. So we're not going to show you every single thing here, but know that there's a lot of resources in the Lumio library that you can use ready as is, or go in and just tweak and edit a few things to personalize it to what you need. So more examples for activities are independent work, individual handouts. This is one that I got to see students in action with, and I really enjoyed it. It's one where she just took a screenshot of a map for science, and then she took some pictures, and they're clip art pictures on different forms of weather, like weather patterns. And she put them on the side and asked students she made them infinite, using an infinite cloner, and asked students to move them around and make their own weather map. You know, they were talking about patterns of weather. In the south, it may be hotter. In the north, there may be a cool front or different types of storms. And then after that, they were going to get in front of a smartboard. She shared each student's screen, and they were going to pretend that they were meteorologists. And then she recorded it. And there were some students that really got into this, and they loved it. So it was very interesting to see this activity in action with the students. And of course, we have the game-based activities. There are a lot of game-based activities you can use, such as super sort, rank, order, and match them up. There's more than these, but these three will give you real-time insights and data. And I'm going to show you on the next slide what this will look like, or actually on the next two slides. So Miss Barnett made one for Halloween. This is a Halloween math challenge. And she didn't design all this from scratch. I think she used a few things from Canva, but it was very simple, I think she said, to create this. And here is the super sort activity. Now, if we want to model this, I think it's a good idea. If you're showing this for the very first time to your students, I think you should model it to students how to complete this. So this is the Halloween math challenge. Trick or treat. If it's trick, that means something's not correct. If it's treat, it is correct. So she took screenshots from a basic PDF worksheet about a math topic. And you don't have to use just math, you could. So here's the number in a decimal form and a fraction, 0.9 or 9/10, and then 9/100. If it's tricking you, that means it's not correct. If it's a treat, it is correct. So this one, trick or treat. Well, let's say we pick treat, that it's correct. Oh, no, it's not correct. So it's self-checking. We know it was tricking us. It was not correct. You may say, well, students are going to know that's not the correct answer. Then they might start guessing. Well, that's true, but it does track their data. If they don't get the answer right the very first time, it lets the teacher know. And students, they can't just guess. They need to open it up and think about it, and then try to pick the correct answer instead of just guessing. Now, hopefully some of you have been answering this as students, and now we, as a teacher, we can go in and view the progress. I can see some students have already completed it. 3 students. Okay, and then there's some students that are still in progress working on it. So if I want to see results on how are students doing? Okay, well, 6.5 out of 8. I can see that this question had them, this one and this one had 2 that were incorrect. Well, maybe I need to review these. Okay, and it also gives me the time, how long it's taking students to complete this. If I wanted to see what are the most, the questions that are answered correct more often, then we also have that as well. But teachers often want to see, where are students missing it? What are the common misconceptions? I can see there's more data showing up. And if I wanted to dive deeper, I can go to individual student progress. I can see that Kelsey got 8 out of 8. Evidently, she knows this. Erin got 4 out of 8. I want to see what's going on. Is she guessing, or is she having some trouble? This gives me some real data that I can look at. So I love this. You can use this as a fun game or activity, or you can use this for more serious types of assessments, formative assessments, okay? So this was just one way that you can use the super sort activity during the lesson cycle. All right, and the last part of the lesson cycle is assessment. There's different ways you can use assessment. Of course, you can use game-based learning. I just showed you that you can see it gives you real data on how many are correct or incorrect. You can use that as an assessment. Of course, there's writing, and that's what I'm going to talk more about. You can just take a screenshot of a PDF and have students type or write out their answer, or you can type in specific things. So on the next slide here, this is an example Miss Barnett had about math. She asked in English and Spanish, why is it important to understand how the value of a number changes when it's moved to the right or to the left? So in Texas, we are asked starting in 3rd grade for students to be able to write in complete sentences and actually type out their answers. So students have to get comfortable and familiar with the keyboard and how to type, how to make sense of their answers and write in complete sentences, because they're tested on this on our state test. So it's a lot for a 3rd grader to be able to answer the question correctly and then answer it in complete sentences in a way that an adult can comprehend, whether they're learning this topic or they're not. And not only is it good for practice in writing, but it gives me as a teacher more insight into what's really going on with this student. Of course, we have our kids that are loud and vocal, and they're going to ask questions, and we know what they're thinking if they get it or not. But we also have those quiet kids that just rarely speak up, and they never ask questions, and you just don't know what's going on. Well, when you give them an individual handout and ask everyone to write, and everyone writes, then you get an idea of what's going on for each student. And you can give some individual feedback if needed by looking at their response and writing on it, or you can just go and talk to them about it. You can easily see misconceptions this way as well. So this was just one way you can use reflections as writing for assessments. Now, we have linked more examples that are ready-made activities. Like I said, Miss Barnett created these, or I created them, and some of them we created from scratch, and some of them we took from the Lumio library, and then we edited it, tweaked it to what we would use in the classroom, or I thought another teacher would use in the classroom. And then we also have here for the Lumio Teacher Toolkit, all of these are really good, but the Instructional Strategies is an amazing resource that I just wanted you to take a peek at, okay? Because when I saw this, I was wowed. So this just takes you to the Lumio library, but if you see this, there's 4 different categories of different instructional strategies and over 90 pages of examples of ready-to-use instructional strategies that you can use with your class and your students write in Lumio. So giving you an example, here is one of them. I got this from the Instructional Strategies, 3 facts, 2 questions, 1 opinion. And hopefully you will add to this. What are 3 facts I learned from today's Lumio lesson? What are 2 questions I still have today? And what's one opinion I have from today's lesson? So this is going to be wrapping up what we're talking about today. Hopefully we will have some people contribute here to any of these. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Are you able to see it now? Mm-hmm. Okay. So 3 facts I learned from today's Lumio lesson, 2 questions I have about today's Lumio lesson, and 1 opinion I have from today. Again, I didn't create this. I just took it, copied it. I was like, this can be used for today, but it could be used in every subject area. And I got this from the Instructional Strategy Toolkit. Wait a few more minutes for people to add.
The manipulatives is a good one. And I'm a teacher that likes to plan. I don't do things on the fly. Probably the only thing that I change as I go in a lesson is something that had to do with Lumio. It's probably the only thing. Everything I very hard planning and I follow my script. But in Lumio, it's so easy to make those last minute decisions and go and edit a lesson and come back and add manipulatives or restart it. And it's so easy. Definitely manipulatives. And simulations for science.
How do I change the language back to English during a presentation if the immersion symbol is not showing? So first of all, in Lumio, you do have to turn that option on whenever we're through here, I'll show you how to do that. So it is an option for students to have. Otherwise, you're not going to see that little logo on the side. So I'll show you that in a minute. And then once that's turned on, if it's still in the other language, you can go back. I think I left mine in Spanish. I showed y'all all the different languages, and then I just left it right there in Spanish, and I didn't go back and change it to English. So it would just stay on that. Do the individual games and resources save? Yes, the data saves until you push the little restart or start again. So I know Miss Barnett has had some students complete like a game, and then some students ask, can we do it again, right? And yes, they can do it again.
Actually, they love doing it again. And I don't think there is harm on doing it again, especially for math, to get some fluency practice.
Because I think students want to just try to beat their score to try to get more correct. So they think it's a game, but we think it's more practice. All right. Of all the webinars attended, I really love this one. Oh, that's awesome. The presentation was really informative, full of examples easy to follow. Yep, that's what we wanted. We know what teachers want. I love Lumio. Me too. Great lessons to use. Connect with someone who has a shared library to get, for example, Spanish teaching materials. I teach Swedish as a second language. Okay, great idea. Never thought of that. Yes. Okay. Well, I think we've answered questions. Wait, here's another one. Can games be assigned to do at another time, or do they have to be done in real time? Well, we are on a Lumio in real time right now. So of course you saw how that worked. But if you wanted to give the whole Lumio where it's just one game or a few activities, it can be student pace where they they completed on their own time. And you can have that link instead of giving them, instead of going to the teacher share link, you would go to student self-paced. I think that's what it's called. I'll show you that in a minute as well. Good questions here. So let me show you what it looks like for, let me show you what it looks like for turning on Immersive Reader, and then we will talk about how to share an actual lesson for your students if you wanted to post this, say, in Canvas or Google Classroom or just somewhere else your students can access it on their own at any time. So that does mean this will end the lesson and it will kick you out for just a minute, and then we'll come back to it, okay? So don't be alarmed to think, oh no, I'm gone for good, just temporarily, okay? Oh, I think I have to go back here and end it. So here, I'm on my Lumio dashboard. When I go to Edit Class, Manage Immersive Reader, you need to turn this on. If this is not turned on, you will not see that little Immersive Reader book logo on the left. It just won't show up, okay, until this is turned on. So once this is turned on, you will see that option when you start it, okay? Now, if I wanted to share this with my students, of course, this is something that was really for teachers, but let's say we just had one game and we just want those students to complete that. I'm gonna click Share Link, and here's the one that would be shared with teachers, and here's the student pace one. Let students access this lesson and work at their own pace. I'm gonna copy this link, give it to students, put it in a place they can click on, and then they're gonna sign in with their Google credentials or however you have them sign in. I think there's also an option if they wanted to join as a guest, but I recommend you have them put their first and last name so we can see who completes what, and you can get data on what they're working on, okay? So let me go back here. I think we are going to wrap things up now.
Yeah, I can take it from here, ladies. So just a real quick to walk through some of these resources. I know people are having issues with the certificate. We had some issues earlier today. We thought we rectified all the sessions. So please email that email I just put in the chat. You don't need to tell us if you're having any troubles. Let's just follow up with that email asking for the certificate. I will make sure I send them immediately to whoever emails at globalcommunities@smarttech.com. The other option is that if you give our team just a few minutes, they'll probably fix it on the back end and then just click on the link and you're able to get that certificate. Totally up to you which approach you want to take. But yeah, so some of your resources are webinars that we do throughout the school year. We love to partner with our ambassadors like Sarah and Cristina, or we just do our own Explore webinars as well. Obviously, with the summertime and holiday break for so many, they're pretty slow in the summertime, but then we'll pick right back up in August. We also have a Lumio Academy where you can take self-paced courses like getting started with Lumio. If you're a brand new user, you can kind of go at your own pace and learn the tools. And also Lumio Palooza sessions will be put in the academy, so you can rewatch the recordings and earn the certificates from that Lumio Academy as well. Also, feel free to follow us on socials. Most of them will be all Lumio social, but we also have a Facebook group called Lumio Educators that you can join, as well as our Lumio Ambassador community like Sarah. Yeah. So let's just move on. Yep. So beautiful. We've tried to answer as many questions. I know Sarah and Cristina, you were so proactive throughout answering all the questions. We did put the survey in the chat, so just I'm going to drop it one more time. Obviously, the feedback is super valuable for Sarah and Cristina. We obviously know also the certificate we may need to do some follow-ups with. So I'm going to drop that survey one more time in the chat. And Sarah and Cristina, any more thoughts before I completely wrap up?
Nope, I enjoyed today's session. I got some ideas from the participants, and thank everybody for being here and giving your ideas. We enjoy learning from you too.
Having lots of fun. Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Awesome. I can't wait to use that trick or treat activity. I already told you that in planning, but I'm really, really excited about that one. So, all right, with that being said, thank you, Cristina and Sarah, for sharing your insights with us today. Here's the 3 things that you can do next. Social sharing. We would love if you could share what you learned from this session and any other session that you joined today. Share your thoughts on social media along with this graphic, tag at Lumio Social and hashtag Lumio Challenge and Lumio Palooza to be entered to win a gift card. I will drop the social graphic in the chat. Also, I dropped in the resources again. Check out these resources to continue your learning with Lumio. We also have a Lumio promo going on. If we have a special summer promotion going on for Lumio Spark, which is our highest tiered plan. Right now, the Lumio Spark plan is buy one, get one free. Share this link with your administrator to take advantage of this amazing opportunity. I also put that link in the chat at the very end. Remember, all follow-up resources, including Sarah and Christina's file, will be shared with you. So all those fun links to all the resources that they created will be in that that file that you get shared with you. All the links I dropped in the chat will also be shared with you in that email, as well as the recording. All of that should be coming to your inbox early next week, so you can review any information that you missed or watch sessions that you weren't able to attend live. Thank you all for joining our Lumio Palooza session with Lumio and dual language, twice the fun. We hope to see you at a future webinar. Bye, everyone.
Bye.